test cough. Good morning, folks. It's Monday the 8th of December 2025. Very summery today. It was already about 19 degrees Celsius when I got up. There was one brief shower of rain. It's supposed to get up to about 24 for us here. 34 in Hastings, so a bit of a record there. Today, I finished this book yesterday. Not normally something I'd read. Sounded good on the book review. When I ordered it on the library system, there were 237 people waiting, and there were 6 copies. I was pretty close to the beginning of the list. Maybe not in the first bunch, but I picked it up. I've read it through as quick as I can, doing an hour or two a day most days. I had a big push yesterday to finish it. I had actually, after I collected the book, I went back online, and by then there were 260 people waiting, and just the 6 copies. But it said the library had ordered another 29 more, and that they would be put... so the Greater Christchurch City Council area, given that it's absorbed several of the surrounding country, rural areas, has, I guess, about 20 libraries, when you consider that even small town like Little River and Akaroa have little like one-room libraries or something. And basically every library is going to get 1 copy, and some the bigger libraries will get 2 or more. Once I've gone round everyone who's got one ordered. So I'll get this back to the library tomorrow. This is a story about Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who is most famous because of this photo. Let's try to get that on the camera there. With that, obviously that's Prince, now unPrince Andrew, just to the left of the photo. This is probably... Well, I did do a couple of book reviews of the people that had left that Gloria Vale, the religious cult community on New Zealand's west coast. This is the most difficult book I've had to read so far. I am very glad I read it. Obviously it covers Virginia suffered substantial abuse from a young age, single-digit years age. In the book, she claims it started with her father. Now, her father has said on the record that it wasn't him, that it was another family friend. Okay. But certainly as a teenager, she later got sent to some kind of like a juvenile institution. It was supposed to be a helping institution. They were a bunch of sadists, where she was basically further abused, including being absolutely... I have to be careful about the words I use here on YouTube, by some young men who were at the boys who were at the institution as well. So with a background like that, she ended up on the streets, ended up, again, I don't know exactly what words I can use in YouTube and get away with it, lots of marital affairs, but without any consent, to put it that way, or date night experiences, but not with her consent. Until as a teenager she found her a job like sort of at reception at Mar-a-Lago, which is a fancy country club thing in Florida. Was still owned by Donald Trump. According to the book, she was recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell and went, had a number of date night experiences with Jeffrey Epstein. It's hard to know where to start and stop with this book. It's I took a few notes, but I recommend the book if you can read it. And I don't mean that the print is crooked or something. If someone has a background of misuse, they may find it cathartic, as in healing, to read a book like this, but they may find it triggering or not healing to read a book like this. And people are going to have to make up their own decisions about that. I can't give an opinion on that. As a person that suffered no misuse in my life, I've got a message. I found the book difficult to read, but I'm glad I read it. Perhaps like swallowing bitter medicine, I guess. One thing I'm very disappointed about, you get to the very end of the book, or two things actually, and there's some phone numbers for some like suicide helplines or something. No indication of what country. I know the book's published in America. I know that USA is 3% of the world's population, but it thinks it's the world. At the least put something like for America and Canada, and then at the bottom put something like please check your local, for other areas please check your local numbers. After marrying some young fella, she lived not quite half her life in Australia. She lived many years in Australia. And the other thing that disappointed me was there wasn't even a one paragraph. There's some, acknowledgements for photos and that. There's not even like a one paragraph thing from the publisher saying, as of early 2025, she died in an apparent suicide. On the odds of probability, apparently when her father first heard it was suicide, he was one way or another, whether it was. I'm reminded of, and I had to look this up, Gareth Williams. He was the guy working for MI6, that's the spy people in England. He was on loan from another government department to do with security. And back in 2010, and he was found dead, zipped up in a suitcase, locked from the outside, sitting in his bathtub. And the English police, who are well known to be some of the least competent in the world, obviously said, oh, this is clearly a suicide. They say there's no DNA, and then in the same breath they say that there's DNA from another male in bodily fluids found in the flat. He was gay, but a lot of people think there was like a honeypot trap where he was befriended by some young man, and who then went on to kill him. A bunch of things just, it didn't pass a smell test. Even the coroner thought that it was unlikely to be a suicide, but... And that brings us to Epstein himself. He supposedly died by suicide. He was literally America's highest value prisoner. There's somewhere around $500 million to $1 billion, missing somewhere. If there was one person in the whole of America that could fund and arrange a SEAL Team 6 style covert mission to sneak up the one staircase, which is not completely on video camera, because we've seen the videos of the one video camera that was working. There's a slight movement because it gets in one edge of the staircase. And everyone keeps going on about, well, was Epstein murdered or was it suicide? I'm asking the third question, is he still alive, sitting on a beach somewhere, drinking pina coladas, getting a lap dance from a 14-year-old? He could afford to have it done. He had the power and clout to put pressure on the coroner. We know where your family live. Your entire family tree might die in an unfortunate accident. This is the guy that... let's go back to my notes. It's actually one of the last notes I made. Where is the huge trove of videotapes that the FBI seized from Epstein's houses back when he was arrested? Billionaires, politicians, senior academics, ex-presidents and ex-prime ministers. We know that he had covert surveillance in all the rooms where his guests were entertained. Although there are some names named in this book, it's annoying that there are many that aren't. And so I guess this particular version is the expurgated version, the one without the gannet, and fans of British comedy will know what that means. But she does explain, like for instance there's billionaire 1, billionaire 2 and billionaire 3. Well, I don't know how many billionaires you can name, but she does say one guy, I think it was an academic, because Epstein had connections all through the Jewish community and all through academia. So America's big and well-funded universities. So, yeah. She said there's certain names, if she named them, they would just sue her and her family out of existence. Lawfare is a term I've heard used, not in this book, but I've heard it elsewhere. And with, I think, all of the book reviews I've done in the last 2 years, I've said I was happy to get this as a library book, and other people might get it as some kind of e-book or Kindle. Please keep in mind that even if you click a sign that says something like buy now, you are only renting. At any time, the publisher can go into the system, edit your existing books, cut out whole chapters, or delete the whole book. You're only ever renting it. And I mentioned somewhere, there's a book entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, and that mentions that it was Jeffrey Epstein that introduced Donald J. Trump to Melania Knauss. That's his current FBI KGB handler. And that book was recalled. Somebody grizzled and got a court order and the book's been pulled. And it'll be pulped and reprinted with a bunch of names redacted. Maybe in 50 years this book will be reprinted with all the names of all those billionaires, ex-presidents and ex-prime ministers. I'm guessing some of the ex-prime ministers are from Israel, but that's just a guess. What have we got? Page 267, 287. Sarah Ransom. Ah, that's right. So, complicating the issue is in different US states, the age of consent for intimate relations with a female, it varies at 16, 17 and 18 in different states. And the events that Virginia describes happened variously in Florida, Mar-a-Lago, and the Florida state. Epstein had a house. The house had been demolished, and when they rebuild it, they're actually going to change the address. They've somehow got the council permission to legally change the street address, so the street address won't actually be the same. And sometimes it was on aeroplanes, sometimes it was in his Manhattan, which is New York, in New York State. Sometimes it was on the islands that he owned, which I think are the US Virgin Islands. There's no virgins there. Sometimes he got a big ranch out in New Mexico, thousands of acres, and also in California, and sometimes California. So the state laws do differ from state to state. But one of the... so there was a Sarah Ransom, and it said she hadn't been a minor during that period, but what happened to her was still wrong. And yeah, remember that, and also remember that, was it about 2008, 2009, Jeffrey Epstein got that, what can only be called a sweetheart deal, that there was something like 80 victims known about, and maybe more, and he should have been up on federal charges. Several of them were under the legal age. It should have been a very long federal sentence, and instead, under a plea deal with the district attorney, or whatever they were called at the time, he got 13 months of what amounts to home detention, going to prison at night to sleep and coming back to his fancy penthouse office for the day for work release at a charity, on 2 state minor, perhaps minor is not the word to use, on 2 much lesser state prosecution charges. Yeah, right. Virginia was troubled indeed, and had a lot of bad happen to her earlier in her life. She was definitely a damaged human being, physically and mentally. And she did the very best she could to recover from that, and good on her. I am absolutely, upset that she's gone. Her and her then long-time husband and 3 kids were living in just outside Perth. As people may know, I'm a Kiwi and an Aussie, and I lived in Western Australia for decades. I still go to Perth to visit people from time to time, as I've got a lot of connections there. Maybe one day I could have gone and seen her. She might have been given a talk. Well, that's not going to happen, because she's now dead, apparently. She'd had some health issues. She'd got some kind of tropical infection when they were up in North Queensland, and then she fell over while she was delirious with the infection and fractured a bone in her neck that needed surgery, and then she was on opiate painkillers. She had taken overdoses of them in the past. Back in 2018, I think it was, she sent some tweets. Some of this is by tweet, at least. It's on page 295 in the book. If I died suddenly, no one should believe that it was an accident. I am making it known that in no way, shape or form am I suicidal. If something happens to me, for the sake of my family, do not let them get away. Do not let them do away, and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted. I was writing without something to lean on. I can't even read the writing here. Now, did that 5 or 6 or 7 years later? Did she then go on to self-terminate? Maybe. Maybe one of the billionaires got to her. We know there are people in the world who are rich enough and well connected enough that if they want you dead, you're dead. We know that even the best police departments can be tricked, that a suicide is, that a murder looks like a suicide. Anyway, the world is poorer for Virginia not being with us. Her coming forward set the ball rolling. I don't know if it was, if she set the ball rolling for Epstein's initial, that arrest and then plea deal, sweetheart deal that he got in Florida back in 2008 or 2009, whenever it was. But certainly the later, the prosecutions of Ghislaine Maxwell, who was his, what's the word, enabler? And although she got some money, some payouts here and there, a lot of it she donated to charities for women who are, and underage, who are abused. So, this is one of the very few library books where I'm saying I would like to own one and read it again. Not straight away, maybe another 6 months, maybe another year, and to read it through more slowly. Because I was trying to be quite quick, knowing that there's literally 260 other people waiting. I'm glad to read in the front that any funds raised from this go to her estate. She's got 2 teenage boys and a teenage girl. She had separated from the husband she'd been with for 20 odd years, and there was a bit of argy-bargy about access to the children. Husband was looking after the children. It may have been that that's when she was using the painkillers a lot because of her neck injury and was affecting her behaviour. Yeah. I recommend it if you can stomach reading it. And that's the best I can say. And please don't buy it just on Kindle or ebook or whatever. Buy an actual copy, or get it from your library if your library service has it. This is a hardback. I believe paperback's available, which will be a little bit cheaper. It's, yeah, I recommend it, but it's, what can you say? She got to meet the Clintons and Prince, what's his name, Andrew, and other billionaires and people that didn't, where there was no abuse as such. And I'm thinking here of the Clintons, who I just happened to mention. So not all rich men took advantage of her, but she certainly got to meet them at parties and that kind of thing. But yeah, in this world, rich men can just do what they want once you get to a certain amount of wealth And that's why Jeffrey Epstein, for so many years, literally decades, in South Florida, had an endless stream of young women, many, but not all of them underage, coming through his house, and he was never busted. You know, he literally owned the police department, the chief of police, whoever else. And as I say, the deal that he got from the state prosecutor, the state prosecutor, even in charge of federal prosecutions, was an unbelievable deal. It was clearly corruption. Is this? All right, folks. We'll see if we can leave with that photo. And all the best to her family. I guess they're still in their hobby farm in Western Australia. Let's get that. The reason why she had some photos, and that's of course Ghislaine Maxwell in the back. Donald Trump's setting up to give her a full pardon. He's already had her transferred to a prison that is so low security she's literally not allowed to be there. But she always had with her what she called a Kodak Fun Saver, a little disposable camera. The disposable, I've actually got a flash built in, so you can use them in day or night, and you just send them away to be developed, and they break it open and take the film out, and so she always sort of had a few of them around, so that's why she's ended up with some photos. I remember when that photo first came out, was released, Prince Andrew said something like, "Oh, we'd need to see the original photo to see if it was authentic." You know, I don't remember that incident. And but the FBI, when they were in Australia, she'd handed over all the original photos and documentation to them. So the FBI absolutely have the originals of all of them. Not counting whatever videotapes of stuff that went on in in Jeffrey Epstein's houses. Oh, low battery warning. Gotta go. But that's alright. Okay, folks. Bye.